Hi, everyone. This is Paul Casey, Sin City Halloween under Paul Casey Entertainment in Las Vegas. We're really honored. We're going to have one of my favorite all-time guys. This is an incredible human being that has played some of the most iconic roles in motion picture. And we're going to discuss a little bit about his background, and we're going to take it into the most current things that he's doing. Dick Warlock. Dick is one of the most interesting men, and he is also very congenial. For those of you that are lucky enough to get a chance to spend some time with him at an autograph show or personally get to meet him, you understand why he was inducted into the Sin City Hall of Horrors 2021 Hall of Fame. And with him are the iconic Gillman, Rico Browning, Dee Wallace, who was and obviously in E.T. as Drew Barrymore's mother. She was also in The Howling. She was in Rob Zombie's Halloween remake. And then we have PJ Souls that was also in. She is totally one of the fun people, to borrow a line from her movie. But let's go to Mr. Warlock. Dick Warlock, thank you very much for coming here. And we are happy to have you. Hi, Dick. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me along with the greats. You know, Rico especially. I mean, PJ is a sweetheart. I haven't met Dee, but you know, just to be involved in that crowd is a real treat for me and an honor. Thanks.
You're welcome. Well, it's deserving because obviously this year is the 40th anniversary of this famous movie. Look, I'm wearing the T-shirt. There's a plug. By the way, if you want to get these things, you should go to Dick's actual website. You can order this one I got from him years ago. And what is your website there, Dick?
DickWarlock.com.
Okay, easy enough. DickWarlock.com, folks. Autograph, probably photographs, memorabilia, shirts, and whatnot. And
no, we don't have a lot of that peripheral stuff anymore. It got to be cumbersome for us to take to the events. I mean, I'm 82 years old now. Well, I will be in February. And I'm getting a little weak in the knees, you know what I mean? And my wife, she's up there too in the age, and she used to hustle all that stuff, but no, I don't want her to do it anymore. So we've eliminated a lot of that stuff.
Well, the things that are important will be there for the fans to see. And the most important thing is they have an opportunity to converse with somebody they admire. You know, these people really are truly, they're dedicated to the horror genre and people like yourself, you know, big time.
I love the fans. I respect them a lot. I'm grateful that they put Kathy and I where we are today, basically, you know, with the adoration is just out of sight. It just is. And thank you very, very much from the bottom of our hearts.
Well, your movie came out, debuted on October 30th, 1981. And we're going to cover some of that. For those of you that want to know it, it's the famous Halloween 2. Now, this is my DVD copy, which came up. But on the back, the beautiful thing is you get to see the shape as portrayed by Dick in the movie. I suggest you pick up copies of it. If you're a horror fan, go 1 and 2. 1978, 1981. Number 1, number 2, H1, H2. Honestly, I believe that's probably the best. That's my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed the way they made it really blend nicely, the two films together.
Absolutely. It was like a nice sequence. It just like continuation. You could actually, and I think there are fans that have taken the two movies and put them together as a fan base. And I was informed of this recently by a really good friend of mine that's a huge fan of the Halloween franchise. But like I said, when I first saw this, it scared the bejesus out of me. And if I later on, I usually watch it during the day because I'm a chicken. You know, I might be this big martial arts guy, but hey, you know what? This guy ain't going away. So the rule of thumb, when he comes, run. That's it. That's all I can say. Don't engage. So let's get into some things with you, Dick. You've been in the industry for a long time. Why don't you just give us a little brief of how you got into it, and we'll take it from there.
Well, it started back in 1956 when I went to a movie ranch, and from there I met a guy that later on got me into the Screen Actors Guild through a friend of his who produced a movie called Ballad of a Gunfighter with Marty Robbins. So that got me in the Screen Actors Guild, and from there I met Walt Disney. Through the Walt Disney relationship, naturally I stayed there for about 10 years. I met Kurt Russell, his father suggested, after seeing me double him for a couple of films, you ought to put this kid in your kid. I was 11 years older than he is, but put this kid in your contract. And Kurt said, I don't know how to do that. So that went to, I'll take care of it. He did. We went along. Up comes Escape from New York. It's going, folks. Escape from New York, and met Deborah and John. And after Escape was finished, I get a call from Deborah, and she said she'd like to see me to be stunt coordinator on their new movie. I didn't know what it was. I hadn't seen Halloween at that point because I'm really not a big horror fan. Sorry to disappoint, but I went in and I met her, and she said, I suggest you meet the director. So I walked down the hallway, and in one of the offices that I passed, there was a desk, a chair, and this mask was laying on it. I thought, so I put it on and I walked to his doorway, and I just stood there and looked at him. He said, who are you? I didn't answer him. He said, who the hell are you? So I took it off and I laughed and I said, I'm Dick Warlock and I'm here for the meeting for being stunt coordinator. We had our little meeting. He said, yeah, that's fine. And that's cool. So I turned around, and as I'm walking back to the doorway, I turned back to him and I said, is there any reason I can't play this character? He said, if Deborah doesn't care, I don't care. That's how I got the job. And
what an iconic part too. Boy, you brought fear to a lot of people. There's been times I've watched you when you're being talked to, and the fun thing is they'll say, Dick, will you do the walk for us across in front of the stage in front of all the other Michael Myers? And
you saw that piece.
Yes, huh? I did. Yes, I did.
I got a little haranguing over that, But yeah, whoever asked the question, I thought it was neat, because I think I turned back and said, watch this so you can learn something, boys, or some snotty, sarcastic remark.
Yeah, but when the initial movie came out, it was supposed to be a child that committed a gruesome act against his sister, right, in the first movie. And you think about it, that had never been really depicted in movies of a child doing something. No. Children were sort of taboo, okay?
Yeah.
Later on, this guy turns out to be, he transcends being a human being to something supernatural. That is what Carpenter's goal was. When you think of how you come into the movie, you've been shot 6 times, allegedly, in the first movie. You fall off the building, you get up, you walk away, okay? You pick it up in part 2 there, and we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But at that point, think about it. Because later on, movies like Terminator and Schwarzenegger were very robotic because they were not human. You are now becoming non-human and becoming supernatural. So you're becoming sort of like what Schwarzenegger's The Terminator is, but you can't be stopped. And that is the beauty of the boogeyman. You can't destroy it. Am I correct?
Have you ever heard that Mustafa said that he had it in his contract, some contract about this movie? That killer will never be stopped. He will never die. So I had just heard that recently.
Well, appropriately true. And here 40 years later, we're talking about it. I mean, let's face it, this is a piece of cinematography history. I mean, it really is. It's something that every person that grew up in that era now shares with their children or their grandchildren, and they will continue to share it. I mean, there are some, facets of the movie where you have to use, there is blood involved, but the thing is, that was just the nature of what was going to progress. And if you look at today's movies, my God, you're tame there, Dick. You're tame.
It's like Elvis used to be. Now he's tamed what they're doing today.
Right, right.
Same difference, yeah.
So you mentioned that one of my all-time favorite movies, and I am a big fan of Kurt Russell. I've shared it with you before. I met him in Palm Springs. Yeah. Very nice man. Very nice man. And I know you had a long history with him. And in the movie that Carpenter created with Hill, which is the all-time favorites, and I hate to say it, Escape from New York is a brilliant movie. It still plays. You also have Donald Pleasance in it, Dr. Loomis. He makes that appearance. And there's some incredible things that you do in there. You want to talk a little bit about that movie?
The Escape from New York?
Yeah, Escape from New York. Tell me a little bit about that.
That was the best movie I think I ever did with Kurt. It was interesting. It was fun. It had things in it that I really enjoyed doing. I didn't have a whole lot of success with. There was one scene in there where I backed a station wagon through a pile of cars, and they all fell after I went on through. And unfortunately, I don't know whether I did it. I doubt I did it, but the headlights got turned out. So when you see the car come through, it really doesn't show up on film like it should have. It didn't have enough light on the actual accident itself or the scene. So I take off out. That was one of my favorite scenes to do. The scene with the wrestler and Kurt with the club. Actually, he did everything you see on screen. That's all Kurt. And there's an incident where the guy says to the guy, Kurt does, he says, if you hit me at all, he said, I'm going to put this club right in your.
Yeah.
And he wasn't kidding. He was going to put it in his crotch if he, and the guy, and I can't remember the lovely guy's name. He was a sweetheart. The guy that played the wrestler, the bad guy.
Oh yeah. Where he used the club and then it had the nails or something in it.
Yes, yeah, that's what he was going to, put in his crotch, and he was firm about it. And the guy lightened up. He wasn't quite so. He was used to throwing people around in the wrestling ring,
right?
Yeah. So
yeah, well, sometimes some of those people, there are actors and there are stuntmen that really those things. Deaths never resulted. The funny thing is that every person, well, it's not funny, it's the truth. And this is the respect they have for Dick Warlock, the stunt coordinator. Every person I've spoke to that was involved in your movies have the highest regards for you. People that that you either worked with as stuntmen or in actors. And they said with scenes, obviously in Halloween 2, with Pamela, and you do everybody loves that. And I got to tell you, with all due respect, Mr. Warlock, as a young man watching that, why would you want to kill that beautiful naked woman?
Well, I guess it's because I didn't get to see those until I saw the movie. I saw the movie and I tried to be as cool as I could, and not watch. I mean, I don't want to embarrass her. I love her. She's great.
She's a wonderful lady. Yes.
Yes, she is. And no, I wouldn't. I have all the respect in the world for the lady, the people, well, women in general. I have a great deal of respect of what they do and who they are. And my wife will tell you around once a week just to keep her in shape.
The only question the fans are going to say with or without the mask. You can always blame it. Yeah. So let's walk through a couple of the great moments of Halloween 2. But before I do, I just want to let people know if you really want to see some really good movies with Dick, you should check out during this holiday season Halloween 3. That was Tommy Lee Wallace's directorial debut, and I got to tell you, that is a great movie. It gets a lot of flack from certain people, but honestly, I just loved how it was done, and your part's in there as the killer. Again, you were not human.
I was a drone. A clone. Can I back up the Halloween 2 a minute?
Sure, we're going to cover that anyway.
Did you know that Tommy Lee Wallace actually did more of Michael Myers than Nick or Jim or anybody else? He was always, wherever the action was, sticking the guy up on the wall. Remember that with the knife, breaking into the closet with Jamie in the eye thing? And it was all Tommy Lee Wallace. And that they knew each other, Tommy and John, for a long time, just like Nick. Yeah. And that's the reason he was hired to do that, because he did all the effects for the wood, scoring it in places where it would break easy and so on and so forth.
Right. Well, Jim told me the same thing. Jim Winburn, we're talking about, who did the initial stunts in the first movie. He said literally Tommy Lee Wallace was everything. But for him, I don't know if that movie could have been made.
Jimmy, as I understand it, just did the fall off the back.
Correct. Yeah, that's what, and Jim has alluded to that too. He said, I shadowed when he needed me for the day, but it was just a 1-day shoot for me. I got shot. I fell off it. It was a 1-take deal, and that was it. But I want to jump to these other things.
That 1-day deal, he fell off the back of the house, as I was told. And
yes, that's correct.
The railing was about this high. That's the reason he could fall off and not need a ramp to get up to a railing that's this high.
That high.
I tried it the first time and I ended up on my face. I couldn't get turned over. So I had them build me a ramp, and that's how, and a lot of fans noticed it. They said, well, you got kind of high up there when you came off the railing, didn't you? And I said, yes, I had to, because that was the only way I was to get to my back.
Sure. Anyway. So let me finish with you, because I want people to understand that Dick Warlock is multi-talented. He's not just a stunt coordinator. He's just not a stunt double. He is also an actor. And you did, like I said, the parts in Halloween 3, which is iconic, which is a wonderful movie. And if you get a chance, folks, pick up a copy of it, watch. Dick does a great job in that movie. And then also when you did, obviously, the movie that was shot here in my hometown, Las Vegas, Nevada, starring Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Sharon Stone, Casino. And you did the scenes as the heavy. You didn't use a knife this time, but you used a stun gun.
I was the head of security is what it was.
As head of security, not far off from the truth. Boy, did that guy go down quick. You know? And then you guys take him in the back room, and I got to tell you, he was wearing a brown suit for a reason, folks. I'll tell you, man, it was not. But no, you know, the versatility of Mr. Warlock. So get a chance to go to his IMDb, and you can see a lot of his history.
Remember Jaws?
Yes. You were the guy with the shark. Well, I would get in the tank.
Yeah.
How do you actually go still swimming out in the ocean?
No. Yeah.
After doing that movie.
Magic of Hollywood.
Yeah, well, you did that, you know, and you know, it's funny is that they shot you, and your reactions in the take, those are pretty damn real.
Well, yes, they were very real, actually, because that shark came through and broke into the cage. It would knock the regulator out of my mouth, and it was a struggle there for me there for a while. So yeah.
How do you avoid a problem like that, Dick, where you're in there, you've coordinated, you've walked it through with the director, the AD, the camera people that are assisting? There's probably, I would bet there's other people in, you know, full frogman suits sitting outside of you watching, making sure. What is your distress? There was nobody in the tank with you, just you?
Just the Rex Metz, who was operating the camera.
Oh my God. So what is there, did you have a signal in case there was a problem?
Well, this is the traditional national signal for I'm out of air.
Yeah, but you're going like this anyway.
Exactly.
He goes, this guy's looking really good.
Fred Zendar, the stunt coordinator on the whole movie, was sitting right up here. I was about 3 feet underwater, actually, at the top of the cage. I could have pushed the top off and gone up had it really got serious. But I did this, and Freddie said, I never noticed that. But anyway. Oh,
heaven forbid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's
serious danger. I kind of make it up a little bit like, you know, I could have. No.
That shark was absolutely huge. I'll tell you, that thing was big.
Yeah, it was.
Was Joe Ailes, the guy that was a stunt, he did the prosthesis for the teeth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he talked about all that and whatnot. And, you know, again, people don't realize that what your contributions have been. So I can see why you identify with the famed Gill man in the back, Rico Browning, you know, all time. I said this to a friend of mine, my all-time horror fans that I am, my all-time pictures are obviously Michael Myers. Take one or two, I'm great with it. I do love George. I do love Jim. And I've met the other guys as well. I think that, you know, but if it wasn't for the original, you wouldn't have these sequels. The Gilman is number 2 for me. And then after that, I have the Wolfman, Frankenstein, and Dracula. And then you get Jeepers Creepers and a few other ones. I like mind suspense. I do that. I think the theater of the mind is really the important thing. You know, when you look at it, the implying of things. So that really is important. How about you as a kid growing up? I mean, obviously you watched Universal movies and the horror. Is there ones that stood out besides the creature?
Those the ones you just mentioned. They all are I love Frankenstein with the Abbott and Costello. And then the Frankenstein himself, when it was Frankenstein, the monster.
Right.
With the costume, Abbott and Costello got funny.
It's fun. Yes,
it is still good. But those are my favorite, the old Universal monsters. They still are today. I'm not enchanted by all the DGI or CGI of the digital stuff.
Right.
I know it's coming with the future and technology and all that kind of thing. But as far as movies today, I'm not particularly enthralled with all the latest stuff, to be honest with you. I don't go to the films very often. I go to something serious, but you're talking about people that you talk to and so on. I finally met Ben Chapman, who was the tall.
Absolutely, he was the original creature on land.
On land, and of course Rico did all the underwater, and it was the underwater stuff that fascinated me. Now, how did he do that? I got to know Rico. I've been to his house. He and his wife Fran spent a couple of days together, and unfortunately, Rico is not doing too well today. But God bless him. He sure. I met a lot of people that I've been a fan of. John F. Kennedy, Muhammad Ali, who knocked me on my butt one time. Elvis Presley, who I first saw in 1976 or 57 at the Pan Pacific Auditorium. Then later on, got to work with him, and it's been an exciting career for me. It really has, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad I'm out of Los Angeles, that whole area back there, because it's just going off. But anyway, yeah.
Well, the beautiful thing is that as a young man and having the opportunity to meet a lot of my favorite people in Las Vegas, and for you folks, you should understand that when I do my events in Las Vegas, it's because of to bring awareness to children and families of special needs. And Dick was kind enough to come out to be a part of the Las Vegas Car Stars and to represent some of the movies that he has been in. That day, we were lucky to have George P. Wilbur with us, Jim Winburn, and Dick Warlock. And then you all attacked PJ Souls, so she didn't know which way to go. There was 3 Michael Myers chasing her. Fun. Here's the thing. This year, we're going to be honoring a lot of people, and the people that are part of the Hall of Fame are very special to us. And in the past, some of the individuals that I will mention here that were people I grew up was that the first year we had was the Cheney family, Lon Cheney. And we had Ron and his beautiful wife and his daughters come out, and they accept on behalf of their grandfather, Lon Cheney Jr. Then the second year we had Sarah Karloff, and she was wonderful. Sarah's part of our Hall of Horror.
I met her years ago here in Kingsport, and she's beautiful. She's just sweet.
Isn't she the greatest?
Yes.
She's gentle, and she throws a mean holiday party where she brings out her chili. And I was there, and it was fun, and it was a great time, and everybody. And then she proudly displays her father's Grammy from the Academy of Music for the portrayal of the Grinch in 1966, and he won a Grammy for that. And then we've had also Lugosi family, Bella, and his beautiful daughter. And I met her and actually Bella many years ago. My mother had a bridal shop in Montrose, and she was getting married. And Mr. Lugosi came in, and he was the father of the bride, and he wasn't all that happy to be there. But I was working in my dad's tuxedo shop, and I just told him how much I admired him. And he's a gentle individual. He's really a nice person. And so, but he looks just like his dad. I'm not kidding you. Spot on like his pop. Great people, the Lugosis, the Cheneys, and the Karloffs. We've also had in here, we're lucky to say that John Carpenter is part of our Hall of Horror. And this year, we're also recognizing other people as well, and we'll get to that in a second. Obviously, PJ Souls, as we mentioned earlier, she is from the first movie, and then they show a glimpse of her in other movies. And then you have Dee Wallace for her, role portrayals in E.T., The Howling, and also Rob Zombie's movie, Halloween, and then obviously the great Rico Browning, who met my son, I think a year ago, and he was very nice. And like I said, we're very excited. There's others as well, and we'll announce those as it. But so let's get into some of Halloween 2. I want to really talk about it. It's one of my personal favorites. I think you took the bar and you moved it a lot and really pushed it up. And as we all know, there's a lot of pretenders, but there's only one Halloween franchise. And you guys inspired so many other people. So you go and start the movie off. We pick it up for where Myers is attacking Laurie Strode, gets shot, and then we see the wind is blowing the trees. We're cutting to Halloween 2, and we see the gunshot, the muzzle flashes. We see the figure being thrown off the balcony, landing on the floor. And guess who that was? You. So tell us about getting shot for that. How many times, being and going off the back of the balcony.
Well, he was actually shot 7 times, wasn't he?
I know that, but most people don't pick that up.
Well, as I related earlier about the ramp, the first time I did it, we used cardboard boxes with a canvas over the top as a catcher when I went off, because it wasn't all that high, maybe 8 feet, maybe, if I remember right. Anyway, I did it the first time, and I ended up on my face. Just went right over, boom, and I landed on my face. So I had to improvise something. So they built me a little ramp for that. I did that. And then the next thing you know, they're looking down, the camera's looking down, and he's disappeared from the front lawn. And away we go down the alley. The dog scared me as much as it scared the audience. They started barking down there. Mrs. Elrod, what a sweet lady. I can't remember the actress's name off the top of my head, but she was a sweet lady. I didn't even talk to her would-be husband in the scene, who was watching an early movie. What is it, Dawn of the Dead, or one of those Caesar?
Yeah, something like that. These characters are there.
But anyway, you're going to start talking about things that you're going to be reminded me of, because my mind is. I'm getting
sure.
A little, yeah.
When they set up the shot for you to be shot, and the stunt of you falling off the building, for the novice and the inexperienced film goer, we just think you guys are superstars doing that. But there is a lot of danger in that, correct?
Well, there can be, but it's almost like a dance routine most of the time. You rehearse it, you get it down, like a fight routine or something like that. And there are instances where you can run into trouble. And I know of several friends that have died that way on movies. One of the greatest highfall guys ever, Gar Robinson, passed away, and because he did something he shouldn't have been doing. But hey, you buy the ticket, you take the ride, just like at Disneyland. You go from A to C or B, but then you jump on that thing and go for it. And don't let me stumble too far through myself, okay?
Sure. That's all right. Well, let me ask you this. You get the fall. Do you have assistants there? There's somebody there to make sure that you're going to hit your marks the correct way? Or is it just all intuitive for you?
Yeah, it's intuitive. Okay. I'll give you an example. The police car running into the van.
Right, into Ben Tramer.
Yeah. That was Jack Verbois. And together, we designed this. I put a ramp across the front of the car about that high off the road. It couldn't be too high. And Jack had to trust me to know when he takes 1, 2, 3, and he turns around, because he's backwards, almost walking backwards at that point. He just turns, the car's there, and away we go. Then we replace him with another dummy, and and we go blow up the van. For Jack, it was mostly on his part. I didn't come in rapidly, and if you remember, the lights on the car were
yeah, it was going.
Yeah, we undercranked it. So
Right.
that, when they run it at speed, it looks that way. But I had to do that for safety for him.
Uh-huh.
And choking out Leo in the
Sure.
room
Sure.
there when I was doing Pam's thing. He was assured that I would not do anything to harm him, and I didn't. We did
Right.
several shows at Disney when I was on wires, testing wires for some of the actors in some of the movies. The wire broke and boom, down I went. That would have happened to them if it hadn't been for me being on it. And then they did everything a little better, a little more safely.
So the basic thing is security and safety for all the participants so that we don't have a tragedy, correct?
Yes. Yes.
You may give the appearance that bad things are happening, but nobody does get hurt.
Well, there's an incident that just happened here recently with a gun
Right.
with real ammo in it, and that's
Yeah, you're obviously a gun expert, a fire expert, a fall expert, and I bet you probably drive your car very slow when you go to the grocery store.
Yes, I do, especially since moving to the south, because everything is slower down here.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I was in Los Angeles area. If you don't drive, you'll run over you.
Sure.
So you have to drive rapidly, unless it's 5 o'clock on the 405, and then you're going to go about 12 miles an hour.
So I'm going to identify about 4 or 5 of the most famous scenes that involve you. The number one thing that I think is the most eerie thing about you is obviously your walk and the way they revealed you at times. That really just like, holy mackerel. What are you doing? And it's the famous chase scenes that you would see. When your face, there was you talked about the Day of the Dead, or, the Living Dead, the Romero series of movies. When you had the security guard, and all of a sudden what happens, he's in his back, there's the black and white TV monitor, and guess who's walking across the back? It is you. And I said, oh my God, that is a flashback to that famous 1968 movie that was shot all in black and white. So it's a nice little tribute to that. I don't know if that was intentional or unintentional, but I got to tell you, your presence there. The other one that was really creepy is when they see your face in the reflection of Pamela's mirror, and you see you wearing that mask. And let's face it, after a night of, morbid things that you've been doing to people, that face is going to be messed up, the dirt and worn and everything. And that's always something that really bothers me. Continuity, you're wearing the same outfit, the same mask. And a lot of people don't realize that's the same mask. And we'll talk about that in a second. But, you're present. You're just because you don't speak doesn't mean you're not giving an amazing performance. I equate that to when you watch Boris Karloff in Frankenstein. You mentioned that. And with Karloff, he doesn't speak. So he's doing all this pantomiming and he's motion and all this and yeah, exactly. And when you see that, Dick, it sells the body language. You're like, but in your case, you're transcending from human being now into supernatural, and it doesn't miss a beat. And there's all of a sudden he's there, and you're not in a hurry. That's the thing. You're not in a hurry because you're going to get him.
Get you one way or the other.
He's going to get you. Sorry, he ain't going anywhere except after you. And I got to tell you, there must have been times that you must have paced yourself after doing the take, and how do they make sure that you did it similar to what you did before, correct?
I'll tell you, people ask me, how did you develop that walk, which you did. Rick never gave me any direction that way about how I should do it. Deborah was there every day. Every day she was there on the set. And I understand from reading something that she said, Warlock never got it. Anyway, I actually breathed under there whenever I got the thing on and was ready. Much like the sound effect that you hear in the movie. Mm-hmm. That got me into the character. So it was a continuous thing on my part. I don't think it was conscious that, oh, I got to walk slow. I just did. When I got the outfit on, I became Michael Myers. And even my wife, my present wife at that time, not my current wife, but my wife at that time said, you know, you changed a little bit when you were doing that film. She never elaborated on that, so I'm not sure exactly what the change was. But yeah, I did it. I had mixed emotions. On one hand, I had to be concerned with the safety of the actors, and on the other hand, I'm trying to be this guy that's trying to kill them. It was kind of a what do you call it? A dichotomy? Dichotomy? I don't know what the proper verbiage would be for that, but yeah, that was interesting. And like I say, Rick never offered any advice. He would tell me, I want you to go from here to there. Yeah, but as far as how to do the guy, no. And Deborah didn't either.
Were there any difficulties wearing that mask and scene?
And seeing? No.
Yeah, okay. Or did you know your marks already? And you knew exactly, you knew where to stop and all that.
Yeah,
correct?
it was like the steps, coming down the steps. Not many people come down steps without looking down.
Yeah.
When I come down the steps just before the final scene in the infirmary or the hospital thing, I never looked down. I looked straight ahead and came down the steps. And
absolutely.
I've been.
Yeah, that was very eerie because that scene, when you're doing that and you start to find her, Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, she's going down and she's in that scene. And I got to tell you, you were ready to kill her then, because I'll tell you right now, she was ready to go. But there was the scene, her climbing out the window and falling. Was that her or was that somebody else?
No, that was her. Somebody else did the fall on the other side. But I would have changed that, I think.
How's that, sir?
I just thought that I was too close to her. I could have grabbed her nightgown and tore some of it off to show that there's real resistance on her part. And so, or she could have kicked me and I could have gone into Garrett, who's hanging there, and he could have come down on me, or somehow I got entangled with him. But it was just, I came close enough that I had her. I mean, she wouldn't have gotten away normally. I'd have yanked her right on down and just done her in. But the way it went, she got away too easily, I thought. She lost.
Well, that might have been, yeah. There was not, while she was dragging that leg. So again, that ties into the chasing, which is a very famous common theme in horror movies. The villain chasing the damsel in distress. Yeah. You see it all the time. Yeah. It's always that. And the audience is screaming, no, 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 don't get away. And all of a sudden, and so, again, that is there. As to the kills in the movie, obviously the first one where you steal the knife from the Alrods and you go over and you kill the young lady there. I'm trying to figure out why they killed her, other than you just like to kill people. And
I don't know either.
That one, and she,
that John, that was one of the scenes John felt like needed to be at, because he directed that one.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah. He also corrected the scene where my son Lance plays the boombox boy.
Sure.
You're in where the two girls get in the Mustang.
Right.
And Lance bumps into me. Yeah, he directed that sequence.
Well, while we're on that subject real quickly, you have several sons. How many boys do you have?
I have two.
Two, and their names?
Billy Warlock and Lance.
Right, and they both have been in several of your movies?
Well, Lance was in two of them. He played Boombox in that one, and then he doubled actually an actor as the car stopped in Halloween 3. The car chasing who was it?
In the opening scenes?
Stops. They back up. Yeah. And come down towards when I pull the guy's head off, that whole
right.
Sequence. Well, Lance was a double for an actor who couldn't make it the next night to come back and do that. So he was in that one, and then he was the boombox boy in the other one. Billy, when Myers, the two cops and Loomis are outside the house, the Myers house, when people are throwing rocks and stuff, and they came, Billy, as two boys ran up, he was the one with the curly hair. He said, "Have you seen my friend Ben Tramer? He's wearing
right."
a mask." And then that's when you get the Bic, the flicking lighter. He's trying to light the cigarette.
Sure.
Yeah, that's where
which was later used by Loomis in the final scene.
Yeah.
Are your sons still in the industry, or what are they doing today?
Yeah, Billy's retired today, but he did. He started out doing stunts and he worked for a little bit. Then he got into acting. He said, "I'm gonna act. This falling down stuff. I ain't going for that." And he started on Capitol, a soap opera, but he was introduced on a California something television series. He got his Screen Actors Guild card, and he was Eddie on the first 2 seasons of Baywatch, which he left and he's sorry he ever did. But then he went into doing soap operas, and he was on Days of Our Lives for a number of years. Then he went on General Hospital, and then he was on Capitol. Capitol was first, I guess. And then he went back on Days and did a couple of those special movies, the revivals or whatever you call them, where they bring the cast back together.
Sure.
He's retired. He lives in Colorado and he teaches skiing, and he's doing very well. He and his wife are in the business.
I have to say, you have a talented family, and thank you for sharing that.
Youngest boy, Lance, the boombox boy, he writes music for film.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he has a website. He's with some outfit that has clips of stuff he does. I guess that's how they do it today. They make little pieces of music so that the writer or the movie makers could get some idea. And then they solicit work from him to do all the music on their movie.
Are you familiar with Jack Gill?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jack's a good friend of mine. He started off on the Dukes of Hazzard, and my tie to the Dukes is my daughter's godfather, John Schneider. And I know Jack through that. And then obviously he went on to do Knight Rider. And we had him come out. We honored him in Las Vegas for the 30th anniversary of Knight Rider. Yeah. And his son is a musician and writes, and his daughter, must be something. You guys are all very unique individuals. It's wonderful to hear this. Most of the audience will never know this unless they do some research. And it's a really cool thing to hear that families continue on and do their things. So let's move apart from your walking and that scene, because I think that sets the tone of who you are. I mean, you're never in a hurry, and I'm gonna tell you right now, it's like it's constantly coming. And that same idea, which we've seen numerous times, and I've referenced Schwarzenegger with the Terminator chasing after. He's never in a hurry either, because he eventually is going to get you, just like you're going to get them. You had many kills in the movie. Did you get to choose how these actors were killed, and the way it was set up, or was it the scripts called for it that way, or did the director, or did you say, let's just try something different?
No, it was a combination of the two. It was Rick and the script. Is how they come up with. Yeah, and the effects department. It's like when I lift the gal that I pick up off the floor with her shoes fall off. Remember that? Stick the knife in her back,
right?
In her back and pick her up. She's on a couple of cables, wires. They're real thin. She's wearing a harness, and all I did was grab her shirt and lift up. I didn't even have the scalpel.
Well, that is you had that deal. So that was laid out in the script, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What about Garrett being killed? Did you pick the choice on that with the hammer?
No, that was all Rick, I guess. Rick.
What a gruesome way to die. My God.
Yeah, exactly. There's something, I don't know whether many people get this.
Okay.
When Garrett's going through and he's checking the closets, he's kicking the locks off, which are they've got the door locked.
Sure.
So how did I get in, or the character get in and lock the door from the inside?
Exactly. I said that the other day in my review on your movie. But the reveal, the 3 times, 1, 2, and obviously number 3, and then you pop out and it's done. That guy had no chance.
No.
Obviously he wasn't being thorough, because he didn't even tell the candy striper how to work the radio. So it was done. He's gone. He's a god. Okay, so we get that. Now we're getting around. The eerie thing is that you shot all this at the hospital location. for that whole
And
evening.
many, there are
makes
3 or
sense.
4 different locations, actually.
Oh, there was. Oh, really? So
Yeah.
that wasn't just one
The
site
VA
for them,
hospital was the HMS building outside.
right?
The boy with the razor blade in his mouth, and where we did the chasing and breaking the door. Now the door from the inside, where he comes through, that was done someplace different than that hospital. So yeah, it was done at some facilities that were empty, medical facilities that looked like hospitals on the
Sure.
inside. So yeah.
You had that, and then you get into this. So I think the creepiest thing is that you made the kills, and then you start stalking the hospital by yourself. Here down this hallway, and again the use of the camera to reveal you. But now you're seeing that you're walking down, and then the person's going, "Oh my God, don't do this! Don't do this! This is not good. Leave the building. Nobody gets hurt except for you. You're sitting there doing." And one of the coolest scenes, which I'm a fan of, was the idea of using you behind the curtain, and the silhouette of the shape is there, which reaffirms what you are. And when you think of Spielberg, he did that same thing with the shadow projected in the Indiana Jones movies. You saw that, and all of a sudden it was the reveal of the hat, the shadow, and then it was Indiana Jones. Well, that was a more positive character. In your case, you're standing back there behind that curtain, Dick. And I mean, it's like, oh my God, we're ready. Can't you see this? It is so, it's powerful stuff. It's very powerful. And, those scenes. Did you work on the one scene where I think it's Lance, where he goes in to deal with the head nurse who's been bled out by you? You've killed her, and she's got the IV.
I had to hire the double Dick Farnsworth or Diamond Farnsworth, Dick's son.
Right.
Farnsworth did Gray Fox, the movie Gray Fox.
Sure.
He did, so he's a Academy Award nominee actor. Anyway, his son Diamond is the one that I hired to double Lance to do the actual fall, because I'm not going to put an actor in that kind of position, because he had to hit the deck.
Yeah, that must have hurt.
Well, Diamond's tough.
I've fallen a few times. That hurt. I don't care how tough you are, right?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it comes with the job.
Sure.
You do get your share. I've got 2 artificial knees, one because I did the Universal tour for a guy. I filled in for him, and I was doing a fight. The tour is a Western. Back then, they had a Western setup, and they had a stunt, a little Western theme. And I was doing a fight with a guy, and he'd been tooting a little, and he hit me in the side of the knee with an axe handle.
Oh, geez.
8 years later, I finally had it operated on it, and the doctor told me afterwards. He said, that was the size of a quarter when it chipped off, the meniscus thing.
Really?
And when he pulled it out, it was the size of a dime. He said, "That's why you've been having so much trouble. That's why every time you jumped or ran, it's swelled up, because that was eating away at that piece of cartilage, and it just injured it, So anyway, I have that, man. I got on The Relic. You ever seen that movie, The Relic?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was the first guy down, rappelling when the helicopter landed on the museum. I come down, and then the relic takes me into a table. We did that twice, and I relocated it or dislocated it, and I screwed it up on the original rollerball when we were in Germany shooting that with James Caan.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
So
great movie.
I can't raise this arm anywhere near as far as the other one.
Wow.
I never had it operated on, and I should have at the time, but I didn't.
Let me say this. Has there ever been a stunt that you said, this one we can't do? This is not safe.
Well, that's happened a couple of times. And the time that I remember most was on the TV series Emergency had ended, and now they're going to do another one and introduce some new people or something. So we went to San Francisco, and I was elected to be one of 3 guys that were going out on the bridge, the underskirting, the bracing part of the bridge.
Of the Golden Gate?
Yeah, under here. The road is up here, the bridge is up. And I was to have fallen. We were construction workers, and I was to have fallen, and now I'm unconscious hanging under the bridge, 8 or 10 feet down from, when we agreed to do it on the phone here, it was to be properly safety cabled off of that and have a sufficient piece of equipment that would reach me in case I had appendicitis, a stroke, or whatever. And when we got there, none of that was in place. And all three of us agreed. Myself and the other two stunt guys said, no, we're not going to do this. So they sent us home. They ended up having it done. I don't know who did it, but someone did it. And I don't know what kind of safety features that they did put in place for the people who eventually did it. I know that I never worked for George Fenaday, who used to hire me a lot on emergency. I did a lot of emergency episodes. I never worked for him again, and I guess it just made him angry that he's the one that brought the three of us up. We were his three favorite people, and then he was disappointed. So
all I can think of, the reason most people don't do something is one, money. Could have been a cost factor, prohibitive. Well, they're just stuntmen. You're dispensable. I hate to say it, but man, you're hanging above the ocean. I'm sorry. Heights are, I get weirded out. One of the attractions in Las Vegas does that, and I'm not too cool with that. So let's go on. Okay. So the scene you said when you stabbed the nurse from behind and and held her up, I got to tell you, super strength, which it just reaffirms that you are supernatural. But the cool thing about that, whoever thought this up did a brilliant job, Dick, when you had her and you're holding her up in her eyes and then the clogs fall off and hit the ground.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, that was badass. It was a testimony, basically, of reinventing when, in the first movie, when supposedly Castle sticks Bob in the kitchen and he's laying, and the feet and the toes are going like this.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful, whoever thought that scene up, kudos to you. Great. It's iconic. That's probably one of the most popular photographs too. That scene.
That might have been in the script, that scene.
Well, whoever wrote that must have been Hill. And when he was drinking she was drinking with Carpenter on that one, because, hey, what the heck, let's twist it, because that is a cool move, my friend. And then you don't stop coming at her and she runs out, obviously. And, but we get, that's Jamie there I'm talking about, runs out. So we get to we've talked briefly about these other kills. The one you did in the steam or the exercise room where they had the hot tub. Was the water hot or was it cold, Dick?
Cold.
It was cold.
And they talked about it because Leo's in there and he's nude. And things, what cold water does to
endowment there. He wasn't the stud that he thought he was.
yeah. He's discussed that in several of these.
I've heard that. But, it's funny is in your book, the DVD and the special features. There's some great interviews with these people, and I had the pleasure when I saw you. I think it was for the 35th anniversary in Pasadena, and they had all of your team there, and then they had the cast from Halloween 2. And I got to tell you, they're just nicest people. You guys have some of the best people working in the industry.
For some of them, it was their first film. They hadn't yet gotten the head.
Sure.
Hollywood hadn't grabbed them and said, "You are so special. You're above it all. You owe nothing to anyone but yourself."
Well, I've always had a philosophy, these people cut their teeth, no pun intended, on their first movie. But honestly, for me, the magic has always been three things: the script, that the cinematographer making sure that he captures, because he can make you look like $1 million. Yes, and the magic of the stunt people, if it's an action movie, not CGI, those people that make you think that actor actually is doing that. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, hats off to guys like you. You're always my favorite people. You're genuine. You're real. A lot of you have a background in horses wrangling, and they understand the real, and they make it real. I mean, Terry Leonard is a great friend of mine, and I love talking. He was so funny when we were talking about Christine, and some of the stuff he talks about. Oh yeah, it's always when the windows are darkened, Paul, so they wouldn't see me laughing my ass off as he was running people over and getting paid to do it, so to speak. So we have that, and let's get to the end of the movie. 2 scenes, and this is one of them is probably the most iconic, which in the new movies they've revisited. I know they've said, "Oh, we don't borrow anything from the previous movies." Boy, somebody's telling a long one there. Okay. There is no doubt a homage to Halloween 2 in those last 2. Okay, the last scenes. So you're facing it. You're chasing Laurie Strode into the hospital. Everybody's running, screaming, getting in there. And you go through that window. How do you prepare to go through a piece of glass?
Well, the glass is special.
So are you, sir. So tell me about the glass.
In the first place, if you notice, I hit it, I go, and then go on through.
Right.
It stopped me at first, and I just had to press, and it busted out. But it was a special glass that I'm fortunate. I mean, that special glass could cut you, but I didn't get cut, so I'm protected for one thing.
Do you have? I know you have the mask on you. Is there anything underneath you when you go through the glass? No, just that mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you why it's funny. I did a parody with George Barris, the great George Barris, my friend. I love George. My son's named after the 4 Barrises, or the 4 Georges. George Barris, George P. Wilbur is an influence. George Lazenby is his godfather, and the last one was Superman, George Reeves. I love George. As a kid growing up, I didn't even know he was dead. He was my favorite because he was the nicest Superman in the whole world. And so when my son was born, he was called Superboy for a long time. And his mother had some crazy names. And I just said, I think the only one to submit one name is George. Because his middle name is after his grandfather's, Joseph. So it's George Joseph Casey. And he's a tremendous kid. So we're watching. So I did a commercial with George Barris and Butch Patrick, Eddie Munster from the Munsters. Yeah. And they were coming to George Barris Day in Las Vegas. And George brought the Munster coach. Okay. Really? And he drove the Munster coach down Las Vegas Boulevard from Shelby all the way downtown for 3 miles. Wow. There it is. And that thing is, and people are screaming, oh my God, because Barris is in the back. Butch is in the back we're in the back, carriage area going down, and people are losing their minds. They're being escorted by 30 motorcycle officers and patrol cars, 100,000 people watching. It was crazy. So we did a commercial where I played, you're going to laugh. I was a Dick Warlock kind of guy that day. I played Herman Munster. I played Lily Munster. I was Grandpa Munster, and I was Eddie Munster. And at the end, I run out, Pop, wait for me. But we did this scene where we used Barris's front door, and my videographer has won Emmys, and he said, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's a 1-take deal, Paul. It's 1 take. So he took butch, paper, like a butcher paper, and they made it dress up and look like the Munster door. It was brown, and then they put powder on it on the inside. And they said, okay, what's going to happen? Wilbur and Winburn both said to me, okay, you're going to take your foot, and I'm wearing these platforms like Munster, so I'm now 6'6". Okay, I'm 6'1", 6'6", right? And he says, you're going to kick with your foot. And once you go through with your hand, you don't stop. Because if you stop, you may fall. Because there's going to be powder all over it. Dick, it was a 1 time. I was lucky. The stunt gods were watching me. So I popped right through it. Well, we practiced it, like you said. Open door. I walked through it once. And I went, like he does. And so we did it. Take it. Ready? Cameras were only 2 cameras. That's it. If I mess it up, we don't have a backup plan. Go through it, boom. And I go, and then all this powder goes flying all over the. He said, afterward, he said, well, I think we used too much powder. It was all over the place. Going, hilarious. So that's why I asked you about the going through the glass. So that's about as close as I'm ever get to being you. right?
That doesn't get too many questions, that scene. I get it once in a while about the glass, but rarely.
Yeah, well, it's really impressive because you go through it and then they start filling you with more lead. This guy, where's he finding all the bullets? That's what I want to know. He just has them in his pocket. He keeps on shooting.
Yeah, he's got them in his pocket.
Okay, yeah, okay, good on that. And then you go down, you're laying on there, and they say, "Get away from him. He's dead." I said, that's like they'll say, "Why do they drop the knife next to the murderer? Or the bad guy? Like, take it with you, So now you're a fire expert, one of the greatest, one of the most iconic at this.
Yeah,
I mean, there's been people that do make a living getting burned up, but whatever got you into thinking about being caught on fire? I mean, do the stunt of being on fire.
Because they asked me.
Okay, but what got you into doing it beforehand? Did you have prior? I'm guessing you had prior experience.
No, I don't know whether it was Hindenburg or something before that, but that they said, we're going to do this and you're going to do that. And I'm still fine. So I did it. And then the Hindenburg would fall out of the nose cone of the Hindenburg in that movie. And then Firestarter. Firestarter was after Halloween, though. But yeah, that's just what you do.
What did you learn from being on fire in Halloween?
Don't use a suit that has zippers in it, because that heat transfers right through and burns you, which it did.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, it's on both arms.
Did you know how? Because
I rented the suit from another guy, another stunt guy, and it was one of the earlier suits. It's bulky, and he had zippers. I never even thought about that, but yeah.
When you did the scene, how many takes of that? Was it just a one-time deal? It was twice. So you actually went through that twice. Mm-hmm. Did you? And I'm guessing in rehearsals, how many times did you rehearse before you actually lit yourself on fire?
None. No. I mean, you can't.
Are you, when you're on fire though, is your vision blurred? How can you see?
Well, it is, because the fire's coming up. That was one of the hottest burns, I think, done up at that point, because we had a roof. Normally they're done outside, so the flames and heat goes up. But when you couple the flame from the fire itself on, and then you get the heat coming back down on you from the being enclosed, that just intensifies the whole thing.
Did you wear more than one? Did you actually wear the mask when you were on fire, or no mask?
Oh yeah, no, I had I don't even know what that thing looked like, but I guess it looked like the mask.
Because it looked like the mask was when you were laying on the ground, you're frying up.
Yeah, you couldn't really see that mask you see in that scene where the fire is going up the mast. That was a whole separate deal.
So they shot that separately. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I'm watching you do it,
there's so much fire there, you really can't see what the head looks like.
Well, I got to tell you, Dick,
it was up to me to sell that by walking the same walk that I had throughout the movie, not to hustle, not to try to get there. It was just, you're going to do the character. You're the character. So what you do is you walk slow. You're not going to get as far down the hallway as you would if you were walking like Nick did across the street.
Sure. But, yeah, he was moving at a good pace. The thing is that it's got to be one of the most impressive scenes, because I got to tell you, in the new movie that came out just this year, instead of just he didn't catch on fire, the building caught on fire. That was the difference. They inverted it.
Yeah. Myers
wasn't on fire. The Strode house was on fire. He walks out. I hate to spoil it for you, but you're going to see it. You'll know what I'm talking. In this case, you have the man actually on fire. Mm-hmm. And as I remember when I was talking to Terry about the scene when the car was completely engulfed in fire in Christine. It went over the gas station pumps, smashed, got up, he backed it up. He said we had set it up. The gas tank was in a different location in the air. They didn't think about that the fire would suck out the air and cause the car to catch on fire. It was stopped. He had to go, oh my God, we had to, that's why it's a cut. And then they light it up and he goes down the street. And I said, how was it going? He says, I felt like a hot dog. I said, you guys are funny, man. Stuntmen are funny. So I got to tell you, that's probably the one most of the iconic scenes you're going to find in horror. Brilliantly done. Mr. Warlock, you're an amazing individual and your talents are immeasurable. And because of that, we're going to go to the end now. Do you have any final thoughts on Halloween this year, 2021, and anything you want to say to the people that may be listening?
Well, this year, I think I'm doing more. There's been a bigger response. Last night, I went to a ribbon cutting for a haunted house in Asheville, North Carolina, for a friend of mine. He finally got out of the woods doing a haunt in the woods, and he's got a new double, two-story, actually a three-story building, but he's got a good show with the 2 stories. He's got Myers' house in there. He's got Elm Street's house in there. The replicas. I mean, it's really great, and they put on a great show, and it was nice to be a part of that. This year, past couple of years, because of COVID and whatever, I haven't dressed up. We haven't had the kids come and all that stuff. But this year, instead of doing Myers or some other creature kind of guy that I try to dress up for, I'm doing just a cowboy. It's the reason for the hair, and the stash is a little longer than normal. Trying to get into that. But Halloween is always been not my favorite. Although I don't have a favorite. Not Christmas, not Easter, Thanksgiving. But I've always loved doing it. Living in Ohio, we had those leaves coming down, and it was a beautiful thing. And that's why I really related to the opening of the movie with the leaves and things. And I know I'm running short on time, but I just want to say thank you, Paul, for having me here. Sorry about the stumbling, but I'm getting to that point where it's a little hard to get it together sometimes.
No, we are, on behalf of the people that watch these programs, it's truly a very special moment when you take time out of it because you care so much about the people that watch you and doing your craft. And because of that, for many, many, many years, we'll be able to watch these things. And children like my son and the many kids that I work with, they're thrilled to know that they get to meet somebody like you. So with that in mind, as you know, behind me, it says who we're honoring this year for the Sin City Halloween. And we have a very large contingency of people that are in it. And I want to say that I'm going to share this with you now. This is what he's going to be receiving very quickly in the next few days. And it says on behalf of this 2021 Sin City Halloween, the Hall of Horror, Dick Warlock. Thank you very much for all this. And this you'll be receiving, and you're part of the group of individuals like the Cheneys, the Lugosis, the Karloffs, and all the greats, including Mr. Carpenter you've worked with before. So